Hi there. Now I thought I'd share with you today a really nice technique, a technique I really like for shaping or forming thin sheet balsa. And it might be that we want to make a cowl, or we want to cover a turtle deck, maybe a bit of sheeting around the front of a wing or something, but there's lots of applications for this technique. What I'm going to use it for is to cover the nose area on this little fuselage. It's a free flight model that I'm building, and you can see I've got a couple of curved formers in the front there, and I just want to curve some shaped balsa over that. And I've got some 1/16 balsa here, and I could just bend it over as it is. It might actually break if I go all the way around. I won't try, but even if it's soft enough to go all the way round, there's still going to be quite a lot of pressure there, and it's not going to be easy to hold it and glue it on. So what I want to do is pre-form it or pre-shape it, and I've got a piece here that I've already done, and you can do this really quickly and easily. Now this is a little bit too big for that at the moment, it needs trimming, but now once that's trimmed to shape, this will just fit round there absolutely lovely, and I won't need to apply lots and lots of pressure to hold it in place with the risk of it snapping or the risk of it springing back up. So anyway, this is the technique that I'm going to use. Now the top of these formers I think are about 32 mil, a radius of so it's a radius of what, 16 mil, so a 32 mil diameter circle. Now I've got this plumbing pipe which has a diameter of 36 mil, so it's just very slightly bigger. I'll tell you what, I'll just move the camera in and you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so this piece of pipe I've got, as I said, is marginally bigger than the curve on these formers, and the only reason I'm using something large, slightly larger, is because essentially that's all I've got. If I had something exactly the right size, then I would be using that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the balsa that I want to bend, and it's going to be slightly bigger than I need, because I'm going to hold it on here with elastic bands like I've done there, and you can see on this, I don't know whether that shows up, but there's some marks there which is where the bands have dug in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to carefully, nice and slowly, just bend this around and hold it in place with some elastic bands. I'm not going to do it straight away, I'm just going to do it, just ease it a little bit so that it doesn't snap. If I try and bend it just instantly, it will break possibly. So there, that's kind of eased around there now, and that's quite nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this on with these elastic bands, and I'm putting it on the end. As I said earlier, they're going to dig in a little bit, so I'm going to scrap that bit of balsa there, but I will use this piece of balsa in the middle. Now you can see that's just bowing out a little bit there, so I'm going to put a band on there, but really lightly, because I don't want it to dig in. So now we've got that, what we need to do is make sure that when we take the bands off, it doesn't spring back, and this is how I do it. Right, well, if you've watched my channel before, you'll have seen me in the kitchen with the kettle previously steaming balsa, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I've got a kettle of water here, and it's already come to the boil. I've got my balsa that I want to sort of fix in that position, if you like, and I've also got a wooden spoon. Now the wooden spoon is to switch off the fire alarm, which is above my head, which went off last time I did this, so my apologies for that, and if it happens anyway. And what I'm going to do is just switch the kettle on, and it should boil and not go off, and what I can do is just steam this balsa and just keep moving it over and over like this, rotating it so it all gets nicely steamed. And the pipe should be fine, the elastic band should be fine. Now that was just bowing out a little bit there where that central band is, and that's just gone in now. Now you can see this is boiling away like mad, producing lots of steam, and we've probably given it enough now. I'll just give it a couple more seconds, and thankfully the alarm above my head hasn't gone off this time. Oh, there we go. So I will use a spoon. There we go. Now, right, so now we've got this piece of balsa that has been steamed. It's wet, it's quite wet, but it's not absolutely sopping wet like it would be if I'd soaked it in water. Because you could soak it in water and do, or Windex, something like that with ammonia in, and do a very similar thing. But this is a technique I like because it's quick. Okay, well I said it's quick, and you saw how long it took just to steam it. But now, because it's not sopping wet, all I'm going to do is stand it up at a corner of my workshop and leave it. Now this piece I left for about an hour and a half. If it was that long, it might have only been an hour before I took the bands off, and it's perfectly dry now. You're also not dealing with dripping water while you're sort of wrapping it up. So this, like I say, quick and simple. So what we'll do, we'll leave this now, and then we'll come back in an hour and a half. What time's it now? Yep, we'll come back in an hour and a half when it's dry and check it out. Okay, well, this has had about an hour and a half now, as I said, and it feels pretty dry. There's probably a little bit of residual moisture in there, but to the touch it certainly feels dry. And I've been making good use of that hour and a half, and I've been shaping and cutting the nose section for this little fuselage. So we'll have a look at this now. Right, well, first thing, let's get these elastic bands off. And steam hasn't affected those. Oops. And this one. And look at that now. That is just the shape of that pipe. There's no spring back at all. So that looks really, really nice. And I don't know whether it shows up, but there are just those elastic band marks either side of that, but there isn't any marks in the middle where that lighter band was. And that is just so useful for making anything really that you want that shape for, I suppose. And you can see here I've made the nose section for this fuselage, and like I said, while that was drying I've just been cutting this out ready for the windscreen to go around that. Still got some shaping to do on the front here once the engine goes in, but you imagine trying to get that cut to fit with, you've got the angles here where it meets the fuselage, you've got this cutout here. You imagine doing that on a flat piece of balsa, say like this, and then, you know, trying to curve it around, mark it up and get it to fit. It's so much easier if it's pre-shaped like that. So anyway, hopefully you've seen the merits of doing this and how easy it is. I mean, literally an hour and a half and that is ready to go. Well, as I said at the beginning, this is a technique that I really, really like. One, because it works so well. I mean, it really does work well. And the second reason, because it's a really quick technique. Like I said, quick on the kettle and then an hour and a half and it's dry, effectively dry anyway. I'm sure, like I said, there's still some residual moisture in there. And it makes it so easy to work on jobs like this. So anyway, I hope you found that useful and interesting, and if you're wondering, I'm not doing a build series on this model, but I'm sure it'll make an appearance in some video somewhere in a flight or a maiden flight or something like that. But anyway, thanks very much for watching.